back to Bucks Latest presented by Fan Arch. I'm your host, Dean Simon. Please consider liking, subscribing, and turning on post notifications to stay up to date and in the know with all the latest Milwaukee Bucks updates. Alright, so first things first today, right when we were out of it, when we got out of the Giannis trade rumor saga, this whole thing that's been going on this entire offseason to this point, Giannis once again has stirred the pot, and I think at this point it must be something that he views as kind of a tactical advantage, because with his comments recently that he made to popular creator streamer IShowSpeed, it's pretty incredible how he continues to do this. He continues to make you think that you're safe heading into the next season, but then he ropes you back into the whole, well, I could be gone any second if I say so. But anyways, IShowSpeed asked him during a stream where Speed went to Giannis' home country of Greece. He said to Giannis, you're probably staying in Milwaukee, right? Like, you're going to stay in Milwaukee. And Giannis responded, probably, we'll see. And went on to a whole thing, I love the city of Milwaukee, I love playing for the Bucks, but we'll see, probably. And he didn't sound so sure in his answer. I can't really replicate the tone of voice that he used in answering the question, but his probably, it didn't sound too convincing. So, again, just when you thought you were out of it, that you didn't have to deal with these kinds of rumors anymore, Giannis reminded the fans, the media, and the Bucks front office alike that he can request a trade at any point, like on a whim, and the Bucks would kind of be forced to listen to him, especially if he went public with his request, because teams would be beating down the door trying to offer their best package possible to bring in a guy like Giannis, whether it's a team like the Rockets or the Spurs or a personal trade partner favorite of mine in the Pistons. Teams would be bending over backwards to try and offer any deal possible for Giannis, and he could make that happen with the snap of a finger. And he's kind of letting the Bucks know in that moment when, I don't know if he realizes that a stream with Speed, who is one of the world's most famous content creators at the moment, would go viral. Everybody, all news outlets and sports-related news outlets would get their hands on it. Maybe he just didn't realize it in the moment. He was just answering in a natural way. But this is kind of Giannis letting the front office know that he not only has leverage, but he wants the front office to keep trying to build a title contender around him. Sure, he could be happy with the addition of Myles Turner and re-signing all of their key guys from last year, but he wants the front office to know that there's no point in being satisfied when the team is in this nature right now. The Bucks front office can't be satisfied. They have to keep building and trying to build this championship core to keep Giannis around. He's just reminding them that he can up and leave at any moment. So it's not really the most comfortable feeling you could have as a fan, knowing that your superstar player is, number one, not only just being incredibly vocal about his intentions, whether he wants to stay with the franchise or not, or if he's openly considering a new chapter in his career. It's not the best feeling to have. But for now, we're most likely looking forward to Giannis staying with the Bucks heading into 2025-26, maybe for another season afterwards, and then the John Horst and the Bucks front office can kind of deal with this thing as it keeps unfurling. Anyways, moving forward, 5 Reasons Sports, Greg Sylvander reported that Andrew Wiggins could be an interesting trade target for the Milwaukee Bucks from the Miami Heat, and we talked in a previous episode about Jonathan Kuminga's potential departure from the Warriors and heading to the Bucks in a sign and trade deal. Andrew Wiggins, another now former Warriors forward that I would be a lot happier with the addition of Wiggins rather than Kuminga, even though there's the age disparity and Kuminga has a pretty high ceiling. Andrew Wiggins is a proven contributor to a championship team, as he was arguably the Warriors' second best player in 2022 when they won it all, of course, the year after the Bucks. And he's just a guy that you can trust with secondary or tertiary scoring capabilities, and also he's going to give you his best effort on the defensive end over the course of his career. He's developed into one of flat out the best perimeter defenders at the wing spots, and one of the best 3-and-D players as a wing in general in the NBA today. And he would be able to provide something that Kuminga wouldn't in that case, where he can act as an elite defender given the right circumstance and situation, and he's a capable scoring threat that can both create on ball. He's great at cutting. He just knows where to be at the right moments. He's great off the dribble. Andrew Wiggins is really the complete package on a little bit of a lower level than, let's say, a guy like Chris Middleton, where of course he was the more talented scorer, but Andrew Wiggins just has that something else to offer on the defensive end where he can guard pretty easily 1 through 4. Won't say 1 through 5 because he's still a little bit skinny, though he's gotten stronger as his career has gone on. But Andrew Wiggins could provide something that a guy like Kuminga wouldn't be able to, especially as Giannis and the Bucks are still trying to compete in this current era. Wiggins would fit better alongside Giannis, just both on the defensive end and as a complementary scoring piece. So I don't think it's the worst thing in the world for the Bucks to try and have negotiations happen with the Heat, try to pry away a guy like Andrew Wiggins, who he's only 30. He came in, of course, as this crazy scoring threat and was likened to Kobe, LeBron, and now he's developed into kind of a Swiss Army knife of sorts. But he could prove to be a valuable piece to a contending team even at 30 years old. After he was traded in the Jimmy Butler deal going to the Heat, he put up about 19 a game, a steal, a block on pretty good efficiency. Of course, in the playoffs, he kind of cratered. The scoring average went down to 11 points, 12 points on pretty horrid shooting splits. So there's definitely things to consider here with a potential Wiggins deal, but I don't think it would be the worst thing in the world to potentially acquire a guy where at his best, you know that he was the second best player pretty undoubtedly on a championship winning team, and that's the kind of production that he could offer to you in a postseason setting given the right circumstance. Moving forward, the NBA recently announced the groupings for the NBA Cup, and Milwaukee will be in a group with the New York Knicks, the Chicago Bulls, Miami Heat, and Charlotte Hornets. And as the Bucks will be defending their NBA Cup title in 2025-26, this grouping, it's a little bit easy to kind of already pat yourself on the back and say, okay, well, it's really just the Knicks that are their biggest competition right now. But as talent evolves in the NBA and teams get more talented as the years go by, my view is that the NBA is starting to become a lot more like baseball, like the MLB, where any team can win on any given night, and that's what I'm looking at here with this East Group C of the Knicks, Bulls, Heat, and Hornets. It's filled with teams that can catch you off guard on any given night, and of course the Knicks would be their top contender to knock them out of contention for a repeat at the NBA Cup championship. But the Bulls, I am very not necessarily high on going into next year, but of course they have a few talents that can knock you off course if you're not 100% focused. I'm really high on Modest Buzelis. He's going to be a star one day, and maybe next year in an NBA Cup setting, that's where he decides to just go off. But also the Miami Heat, of course, after acquiring Norman Powell and having him be alongside Tyler Hero in the backcourt and with Bam Adebayo, Kello Ware still developing, and Andrew Wiggins, if he does remain with the team throughout this offseason, the Miami Heat could be another contender in East Group C to knock the Bucks off their course for a repeat. So things are going to get interesting with this specific pool of teams, but hopefully the Bucks can pull through again without Damien Lillard this time around, with Myles Turner in his place instead. So the NBA Cup is going to be pretty entertaining to watch this year, and especially in East Group C. And finally, Russell Westbrook, still a free agent, still mulling his options, coming off of a pretty fantastic year with the Denver Nuggets, where he acted as their sixth man, their spark off the bench, as he's starting to enter the real twilight of his career. He'll be going into, I believe, season 18 next year, and number one, that's just ridiculous to say. I can't believe we're at a point where Russell Westbrook is going to be in his 18th year, but he could be a top free agent point guard target for the Milwaukee Bucks, as they've been looking at guys before he got signed, like D'Angelo Russell and Spencer Dinwiddie, along with Malcolm Brogdon, and of course now Russell Westbrook. And Russ could pair very well with Giannis as their hypothetical last signing of the offseason, if they can scrounge together the money necessary to get him, or if they can just get him on a league minimum. Russ, his energy is really what sets him apart and what would make him a great potential fit alongside Giannis, because them two on the break in transition, with Russ still acting as one of the best off the bench playmakers in the entire NBA, one of the best sixth man passers in the entire NBA. Him and Giannis in transition would be deadly. And them pairing together, of course, it doesn't really mean much for their shooting, and their floor spacing would kind of take a hit. But setting up Russ alongside Gary Trent Jr. and Taurean Prince and Myles Turner, they still would have the necessary options to make a Westbrook Antetokounmpo tandem work. And it's not out of the realm of possibility that you can put both of those guys on the floor and they can still run a successful offense. No one's saying that, but the floor spacing would definitely take a hit. Still, Russ proved a lot last year with the Nuggets, both in the regular season and the playoffs, that he could step up when necessary. He could make head-scratching plays, but also game-saving plays 2 minutes apart from each other. And I think it would be a worthy gamble to see what Russ is thinking if he would like to come to Milwaukee. But his decision could likely be weighed upon like where Malcolm Brogdon ends up going, where all the other point guard free agents end up signing. It could clear a path. Also Chris Paul as well. Where Chris Paul goes, it could really open up possibilities for Russ. And depending on those guys, there's maybe a good chance that he ends up in a Milwaukee Bucks jersey next year. But anyways, that'll be it for me today. Thank you very much again for watching another episode of Bucks Latest presented by FanArch. I've been Dean Simon. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button, tell me what you think in the comments about this episode, and I'll see you in the next one. Go Bucks.